Hi friends, in the previous chapter you have learned about CI/CD pipeline and also the tools used for CI/CD pipeline. Alright, that was also one of the important keyword or aspect in DevOps practice that is used. Now let's move ahead and in this lecture let's learn about infrastructure as code. Okay, so this is also one of the important aspect or keyword used in DevOps and it is also used most of the time in the DevOps interviews. Okay, now suppose if you want to deploy a piece of code or package a piece of code on a large number of infrastructure or large number of workstation at the same time. Okay, so how you will do that? So you cannot do that right by manually, it's not possible. It might take up to days or weeks. Okay, now but the client needs it to be deployed as soon as possible. So how you will do that? Okay, now you can do that by infrastructure as code. You will not only deploy the code on those infrastructure or on those workstation, you will deploy them and also you will manage them via your single client or single computer. Okay, which will work as a master. Okay, now let's understand infrastructure as code in detail. So infrastructure as code is a method of managing and provisioning IT infrastructure using code rather than manual configuration. Okay, so you are not doing any manual configuration because if there are large infrastructure working in the background, you won't be able to manage all of that manually. Okay, so you will need some kind of automation or some kind of code to manage all those things at the same time. Okay, it allows teams to automate the setup and management of their infrastructure. Okay, making it more efficient and consistent. This is particularly useful in DevOps environment where teams constantly update and deploy software. Okay, so they want to scale up, scale down. Okay, and if they want to change any configuration, so they can just write or update in the code and they can just run the playbook. If you're using Ansible, so you just run the playbook, it will make the changes on the it will make the changes on all the hosts that was mentioned in that playbook. Okay, so we'll learn about those tools also. Now let's move ahead. So what is a feature of infrastructure as a code? So first one is automation. So there is no point if there are no automation, right? Second one is repeatability. Okay, so it should repeat your code. If there is something happening, you may go through all the code and you may update it. Okay. Third one is version controlling. So you may also integrate with version control system. Scalability, of course, you should use for infrastructure as code scalability problem. Transparency, it will give you all the output or all the things that is going to happen on your whatever provision infra that you have set up. And at last, improve security. Okay. Now next one, what is the application where it is used? So the infrastructure is used in cloud computing and DevOps, CI/CD, networking, web application development, database deployment, or big data analytics. Okay. Now, where you can use infrastructure as code. So there are some example, and these example are not limited to this. There are various example for infrastructure as code. So the common ones are provisioning virtual machine. So if you want to provision lots of virtual machine, you can do that by writing a code. Deploying a network, so you can also do that by infrastructure as code. Setting up a database, deploying a web application, and managing DNS records. Okay, so you can do all of that via infrastructure as code, right? Next one is we are having two types of infrastructure as code thing. So first one is declarative and second one is imperative. Okay, so the declarative approach is specify the desired state of the infrastructure, okay, such as the resources and their configuration. Okay, while the imperative approach details the exact steps or command required to achieve the desired infrastructure state. Okay, now the tools used in as infrastructure as code are categorized with these two approach, declarative and imperative. Now let's discuss about those tools in the next slide. So first one is Terraform. So it is a declarative. If you will talk about declarative, so what it will do? It will desire the state of infrastructure such as resources and configurations. Okay, so you will write the code and you will run it, while the imperative you can do that via commands or CLIs. Okay, now the Terraform, so that's HashiCorp. So it's the parent company is HashiCorp, the widely used open source tool from HashiCorp that automates the management of cloud and on-premise resources. So they are not limited to only cloud. They can manage your on-premise resources also. Okay, so here you will write any file and then you can run it. It will run your deployment. Okay, so this is Terraform. It is one of the popular tool for infrastructure as code. Next one is AWS CloudFormation. It also uses declarative and it is in AWS environment. Okay, next one is Ansible. So this one is most popular among all of these infrastructure as code tools. Okay, so it is both imperative and declarative. So basically, it's a simple agentless automation tool for managing configuration, provisioning, and deployment. So it does not need any tools to be installed on the client. Okay, you just need your Ansible playbook, mention your host, and run the program. It will do that. You just need to make sure that your client or from where you are running the code, it should be reachable to your destination host. Okay. Next one is Puppet. So it is also one of the popular. It's a configuration management tool. So basically, it is not infrastructure as code, but we have included that because configuration management tool includes infrastructure as code. Okay, so it will do that. So it's an also declarative language, and it is designed for automation with an emphasis on large scale of infrastructure. And next one is chef. So it's an imperative, means you will run a command via CLI and you will do that. So basically it is also a flexible tool that automates infrastructure management using Ruby based domain specific language. Okay, so I'm hoping you are clear with infrastructure as code and their tools used. Okay, now let's meet in the next lecture with configuration management. Till then, take care.